Men of Bohemia are preparing themselves for a glorious victory or a decisive defeat. Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Jackie Fish and welcome back to some more Medieval Kingdoms 1212 AD. We are diving back in with another glorious online battle. This time we've got a 2 vs 2, both sides bringing the best that their countries have to offer, which will hopefully be a very, very exciting battle. Over here we obviously have the men of Bohemia supporting them. We do have the forces of Nicaea pushing forward, ready for combat. And then over on the other side of the battlefield we do have Trevelson right here. These are again a lot of them Asia Minor factions. And then finally supporting them we do have the forces of Hungary. Hungary is definitely one of my favorite factions in the game, and I love some of their new units that we do have access to. These guys right here look absolutely amazing with their glaive kind of esque pike weapons. It looks awesome. And obviously you've got to love the Hungarian cavalry, one of the earlier cavalries I ever saw in this mod, and one that I still love to this day. So it should, as I said, be a very exciting battle. Both sides have brought a pretty hefty army, lots of shock infantry, lots of pike infantry. We've got some guns here as well by Trevelson right here. So we're going to get some musket fire being thrown in, supported even by some Greek fire launchers as well. Yeah, these guys are the flamethrower guys as well. So definitely bringing the advancements of the modern world to the battle. Then over on our other side of things with Nicaea, we have javelin men, and these guys are actually surprisingly good. They do a lot of armor piercing damage, so can really do some decent damage. Again, we got some pretty heavy infantry marching forward, supported with their shock axes as well. Basically the Varangian guard right here. Yeah, these guys are not to be messed with. They have just insane armor piercing, so can really cut through knights. And speaking of which, they do obviously also have some of their own knight units as well moving forward. And then finally for Hungary, over on their front lines, we obviously do have some of their halberds, again looking very nice indeed. Some of their heavy macemen. The Hungarian macemen are, the Bohemian macemen, are really scary. They're just such a standardized elite unit. They can kind of do well against almost anything they come up against. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting fight. And we also have some sergeants as well supporting, so some more of their sword infantry as well as the cavalry on the flank. So both sides bringing a pretty hefty force. No real missiles though in the game whatsoever. We've got them 2 units of guns and a unit of flamethrowers, but besides that, no side is really stacking up on archers or crossbows. And I think generally in these more competitive battles, not a lot of people do bring missiles unless they bring the hybrid variants, the ones which are like good at both melee and shooting, like the foot guard archers that a lot of the eastern factions have. And it's a real shame because obviously missiles are such a big part of the game, and it's a shame that they generally aren't brought in these more competitive matches like ever. But a lot of the time they just don't really get their money back. It'd be interesting to see if 1212 ever implemented the system that Rise of Mordor just has, where they've made it so that archers shoot much quicker than they do in the current speed. Like, previously it was like 3 volleys a minute. Now it's like, almost like, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it kind of, because they can get through the ammunition faster, they can have more of an impact on the battlefield. Which I personally really like that change. I don't know if it would work in 1212. But maybe make missiles a little bit more important, because obviously they're so good in the early game, and in the late game they really don't do much. But that maybe is just how it was historically. Missiles became a lot less potent until guns and like the heavier crossbows really came into play. Speaking of which, Bohemia does also have a unit of guns of their own, as they stare down the Hungarian forces off into the distance, moving closer and closer towards the battle line. Some cavalry skirmishing along this front line. Oh, speaking of which, I didn't even notice this as well. Nicaea also have a unit of flamethrowers as well. So both sides are just bringing the most advanced units that they can. You do have a unit of guns here, both setting up, volleying off their first shots off in the distance here. I'm sure these guys will be close to follow as well, trying to pick off as many casualties as they can on the enemy front line, as they do come kind of pretty far forward to them. But the javelins obviously have that much shorter range, so they're going to look to close the distance and get a good volley off onto these guys, try and really whittle them down. However, the javelins are now coming in even after that volley has been unleashed. And you can see the devastation that it has caused as we get a big push here. The Hungarians are just looking to throw everything they've got at the Bohemians. Obviously, they have no missiles, no flamethrowers, nothing like that. So literally closing the distance is the best idea. And I love this move here by the Hungarians. Pushing this cavalry through with the infantry is just such an awesome strategy. Being fended off by the pikemen, but a really nice move here, kind of just leaving these gaps for your cavalry to move through so they can just harass the enemy battle line whenever you need to. It's a really actually high level play here. It requires a lot of micromanaging, but definitely a big fan of that style of play. Leaving these channels for your cavalry is very smart. However, the Hungarians are going to be kind of struggling a little bit on this front line. They don't really have a good way of dealing with these halberds. Like at all. I guess they have their own halberds, which are going to have to push up, and they are heavy polearms as well. They look just, again, so beautiful. But these are the units that are going to have to try and break through that front line, whereas the swordsmen wouldn't really stand a chance. So they do take that initial volley. A lot of Hungarian cavalry, though, moving around this right flank and then charging directly into the mason. They are only 2 ranks deep, so they're going to be able to get a good charge off there. Nice counter charge there by Bohemia to try and slow that down. But 2 ranks deep against a full-on heavy cavalry charge is not going to be enough. And as you can see, they do take heavy casualties, losing 40 men. However, the counter charge is off. They go flying off into the Bohemian Knights as they clash in heavily against the Hungarians. The Hungarians are losing this cavalry fight right now. The Bohemian Knights of the HRE able to get themselves stuck in and really come out on top on that cavalry charge. The Bohemian King as well is moving around this flank to obviously reinforce this. But right now the Hungarians are a little bit outmatched here by the Knights of the Holy Roman Empire. And are actually going to be pulling back some of their units, really winning this one down. I think the ability of getting the shock infantry to this fight a little bit sooner is definitely going to be helping them. Over on the left-hand side, you can see Trebizond and Nicaea facing off against one another. I really want to try and get a good idea of where these flamethrowers are. The guns are actually pushed super far forward and are able to really get their money's worth here. Able just to volley off onto the halberds. The Italian mercenaries aren't really being protected by much whatsoever, so they're getting hammered right now, and that's going to leave a big gap in the front line. If they don't send something there to support it, as we get a big shift from Trebizond over to this left-hand side, you can obviously see the main plan for Nicaea was to hold the front line and then really come crushing in with this flank over here. We are getting a pretty big front line fight, though, as I don't even know how to pronounce that Hungarian name, but as the Hungarian halberds do go in and clash against the Bohemian Knights. You can see them smashing. We'll go back onto the normal speed as well, so we can hear the battle sounds of soldiers fighting bravely. Even go down the battle line a little bit, slow-mo a little bit. I love the Hungarian Knights. I know I keep on saying it, but they look so good, the Hungarian halberds. More infantry being committed and loads of cavalry charges. Another kind of massive smash there as 2 of the heavy knights go flying into one another. And now both sides have really been able to get their shock infantry into this fight, which is obviously going to be pretty valuable. A big old infantry brawl as well. You can really see the front lines just going at it. Both sides throwing everything they have, trying to break through. And a lot of shock infantry from Hungary moving down that right flank to go and support their knights. And if we get a nice little zoom out, you can see how this flank is devolving into combat. I mean, for the most part, it does seem like that the Bohemians really have this under control. They've lost a unit of cavalry, but there's plenty of infantry to reinforce this. The reserves are being brought around to this right-hand side. More and more of the cavalry are being broken down, and this unit of Bohemian Knights could quite easily come flying in here and do some serious damage to the dismounted axemen. They are very open right now to a charge. You never want your shock infantry to receive that charge because you will just get slaughtered. And for the most part, it does seem like the forces of Bohemia are holding the line. However, the cavalry is pushing on. The halberds are really winning the day as well. The forces of Hungary have done a great job of enveloping the Bohemian halberds, able to get round their flank. Over on the other side as well, we do now have the infantry moving forward, mainly just here to kind of act as a blocker against the Nicaean Italian mercenaries. More javelins coming in as well, as the cavalry do finally clash. Both sides throwing in their elite cavalry, almost looking the same as they pretty much are. All fighting for that crown of the Byzantine Empire. You can see all these soldiers clashing in, and whoever wins these fights is going to be a big, big deterrent to winning this flank, that is for sure. However, it does seem like Nicaea are clearing up the front line. They've also been able to get these javelin men as well to lob in and just help support that missile fight. You can see they've actually managed to rack up a decent kills as well on them. 22 now, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is all on heavy knights, and that does really count for quite a lot. Trebizond have reinforced with their really, really awesome two-handed sword infantry. And it does seem like one of the generals has actually gone down. Who is that? Is that a Hungarian general? It probably is the... oh, actually, maybe it is. Yeah, maybe it is the Trebizond general going down. No, that was the friendly. So I think the Nicaean general also died. So both sides on that left-hand side really breaking apart. We also have the Hungarian general as well, fighting for his life, trying to rally his men as best as he can. It's also really funny as well, like on this flank, it looks really like washed out and dry. And then you go over to the kind of Asia Minor factions over here, and it's like so colorful and bright, and their armor is like glistening. Well, a pretty interesting fight here. We have one Varangian guard up against another Varangian guard. That's hilarious. Both sides really committing in there. But as you can see, the front line is just really dissipated. I don't really know what happened over on this side. But it does look like Trebizond are going to be cleaning up this flank, able to get on them fire launchers, which I honestly must have missed this entire time. The guns are still operational though, and these guns have got actually 111 kills already. That is pretty goddamn crazy, considering how much ammunition they still have left. Tying them down is going to be very important in this battle. On the right-hand side, it does seem like the Hungarians are breaking through in a lot of areas, honestly. However, Bohemia have this left flank very secure now, especially as the Bohemian King does now commit in there. A nice cavalry charge onto the gunners by the remains of the Hungarian knights. However, they're quite easily going to get swamped down now. As they pull out, they're going to lose a handful of horses, and that's really going to neuter their capability. And they might even rout. They're going to go in for one last charge into the back, probably before they rout. Able to still do some serious damage, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. 181 kills on that cavalry unit now. Not bad at all, as more and more of the infantry just try and pin it down, just try and make it rout, make it lose casualties as it pulls out, is obviously a really, really smart idea. Even the Bohemian King now is coming over here to kind of deal with this. However, there is still 3 units of cavalry left remaining here. This is actually pretty goddamn insane. Cavalry's obviously going to come over here, try and free up these guns, and then these guns are going to be brought down to deal with these halberds. But yeah, not a bad move here. There's a lot of cavalry still left remaining, whereas obviously Bohemia have won on this side. They don't really have any cavalry left, so their halberds, what they do have, are pretty depleted. So this cavalry could really kind of just win the day completely. Unfortunately, they couldn't save the guns, which was a real shame, because that would have made this fight much easier, as the forces of Nicaea have just kind of formed this absolute noob triangle. It looks very good. And it's pretty vulnerable actually from this side. If they're paying attention, they could quite easily charge in from this side and do some serious damage, because there's just these two-handers here. So if they wanted to, they definitely could envelop that if they just played correctly. They can also form a nice little wedge formation as well, which would allow them to literally perfectly fit into this gap. But we'll have to see how they do take that on. And over on this other side, we also have the forces of Bohemia just cleaning up what remains of the Hungarians. Hungarians did put up a very good fight, but unfortunately they did kind of get a bit smashed around there. There's a lot left for Bohemia. A lot of these fresh units, but not much cavalry, so I guess that's at least one benefit they can kind of take in this. And yeah, I'm pretty interested to see how they are going to go ahead and approach this box, if they are going to come in. Yeah, they are going to be going and pushing them back. I'm pretty sure they could just form a square, which would really minimize their casualties. You'd already start to see the morale dropping down as well. So, yeah, this is obviously a perfect opportunity to come in here and take them on. Obviously, engaging from the front isn't good, but yeah, they definitely need to utilize the cavalry charge on this gap right here. Because that is really their way to victory, is by rear charging these guys, or maybe even just coming in here as well, where the gaps are there. And as I said, I'm pretty sure all this cavalry can form wedge formation, which would obviously be pretty goddamn perfect for them to do. Another charge coming in there, yeah. I mean, they're pretty thin, which is obviously going to cause some extra casualties as soon as this cavalry does kind of come around there. But as you can see, the morale is dropping. They just need like a war cry perfect. There you go. That's going to be what remains of the Nicaean forces, completely gone from this battlefield, and they can just envelop and clean them up. I mean, honestly, there's not really a lot of infantry left for Trebizond, but they obviously also have that cavalry. They still have 4 units of their cavalry. There's just obviously no infantry, so yeah, we're gonna have to see who can come out on top here. I mean, I assume the Bohemians can quite easily win this one just because of their sheer amount of infantry. They can basically just form a movable noob box and just move forward with that noob box and win the day. But we'll have to see. You know, that cavalry can do some serious damage, and obviously, if I was the horseman, I would be going in and just trying to frontally charge all of this. Obviously, avoiding the halberds, whether it's coming in the side or something. That's definitely going to be the plan of action. You basically just want to engage these halberds as best as you can and then charge in with everything you've got, like the cavalry all at once. So your opponent just gets that massive shock value. So we'll have to see how that one does play out. Obviously, keeping the general relatively safe as well is not a bad idea. However, I'm pretty sure the general has died at this point. And here we go, the cavalry moving in. The infantry trying to get pushed themselves in. And here we go, the cavalry pushing in here. Oh, real bad charge there. A really nice kind of switcheroo there, smashing into these halberds, but a lot of the cavalry actually did get stuck up on itself, and it's basically allowing, because they're charging all in one big go, they're allowing the infantry to get involved here as well. They really needed to kind of bide their time and just try and really segregate this segregate that charge. A lot of the Bohemians did break from that initial shock, but I think now that initial shock is under control, the infantry will be able to pin down the enemy and actually win the day. Yeah, I think this is a Bohemian victory right now. I really think they needed to split up that cavalry and kind of not allow all that cavalry to get pinned down, like come in here, and maybe like here, all in one go. So then the same effect could have happened, but then they wouldn't have been under so much pressure. And they wouldn't have been able to like mass route the units like they did on that flank. As you can see, there's just not really a lot left. I mean, they are fighting very bravely, but with these halberds still left remaining, the enemy general's cavalry getting broken on that left-hand side, yeah, we are going to see a break there. I mean, a very, very valiant last stand, and it was actually almost very close. Bohemia have barely anything left, so if they could have maybe got a few more units to route, that would have been very, very different. So obviously, big thank you to the guys who sent this one in over on my Discord. I really do appreciate it, guys. Keep the cool replays coming. I obviously also, particularly love the historical battles and scenario battles that people do and send my way. So if you have any, do send them to me. So we take a look at the kills. Yeah, the handgunners over on the Bohemian side only got 67 kills, but honestly, that's not too bad. It's kind of what you expect around that mark. The gunners over on Nicaea, again, 89 kills. The javelins, though, pretty impressive. 133 kills on this one. And a decent amount of kills over on these guys as well. So not honestly too bad. Actually, these are halberds, sorry. Yeah, the javelins down here. 101 kills, again, pretty decent. Hungary, their front line really just committed in. It was their cavalry that got them the kills. And obviously, their dismounted axemen. And then finally, over on this side, we do have the gunners doing a pretty decent job. 127 kills. The heavy swords here, 209, and their cavalry doing very nice as well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this battle. If you did, make sure you drop a like and a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.